dry, or are we talking? What did
How's
you
everyone's weekend?
Oh, I deep cleaned my whole house and cleaned stuff out so I could move more stuff in. But
Your roommate already out?
Was that?
Your roommate already out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mine was pretty good. We went up to watch.
He's almost out. Yeah.
Okay.
He's get through finals, I guess, and then he'll move out.
Nice. What were you saying, Darren?
I was up in Washington playing lacrosse. SUU is now undefeated in the state of Washington. And 2 for 2.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot
Compared
better
to our-
than the record.
Better than the state of Utah.
Yeah.
Or 2 for whatever.
Yeah.
Oh well.
What about you, Tanner? Do anything fun?
Took some photos for a high school dance and went to the Highland Games Festival that was down here. Bought a couple swords.
Nice.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Not too bad. Me and Anna went on a hike, Canaryville Falls. So that was fun. There was still snow up there, and so you could feel it in your feet when you're walking through the water. That was not the most enjoyable. And Anna was pretty much barefoot. She was wearing like chanclas, but like the ones that have like the straps across the feet. But there's no like actual like they're sandals that just are strapped.
Jesus sandals?
No. You know what? They're right here. Why not? Just ones like these.
Yeah,
So,
like chocolates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chacos, that's what they're called. And so poor her, because there was no buffer at all. But it was nicer for her when we were out of the water, because when we were out of the water, I had socks that were just still freezing. But that's all right.
Yeah, when we went out to Colorado, we thought it was a good idea to go jump in a river at like midnight after one of our games. So like we go walking to this river from the hotel, and like we're looking down there, and we're up on the bridge, and we're trying to figure out how to get down. We're looking down, and there's the same thing, snow along the side. It's middle of the night, and I was like, this is a terrible idea. And somebody was like, there's no way you guys actually do this. And so then all of us that were going to do it were like, well, now we got to. And that was a frosty experience.
Yeah, it doesn't sound fun. It's just like crossing the Delaware.
Yeah, ours is more heroic, though.
Yeah, of course. More people died in yours.
Yeah.
All right, well, are you guys ready to get into it?
Let's get it.
Or,
Perfect. So, just today's podcast is going to be about if we had the opportunity, where we would live in different times. I know last time we talked about time travel, talked about a couple different inventions, different stuff like that. So now we're kind of gonna go a little bit more into it and talk about what we would see our lives like if we were actually given that option, where we would choose to end up, and all those fun different things. So does anyone in particular have somewhere that they'd like to end up?
Who wants to go the farthest back? Like farthest back in time? Like how far back do you guys want to go? Darren, you don't want to go anywhere? Or
no, I definitely want to get out of present day, but not too far back.
like no more than 100 years, or is that even too far?
I could do 100 years. What I would like, dream era, honestly, where my dad grew up. Like he was born in 1968. I'd obviously want to be born in 1969. But like you get to grow up, like your early years are through the 70s, but then like you're actually like old enough to know what's up through the 80s. Like he just got to walk down to the corner store, buy a gun, and buy shells for it, and then he'd walk through the fields with a gun under his arm and plug golfers, and then for every golfer he'd bring back, the farmers would give him another box of shells, you know? So it was like, what else can you ask for? They had a horse growing up and everything, like little small town vibes. That's it.
That's where it's at. That's kind of what I was thinking too. Like just the stories my dad tells me, like stuff he did growing up and getting away with. You couldn't do half that stuff now. Like you get arrested for the stuff he did. Like he had a kid, like I was probably 6th grade or something, had a smoke bomb, lights it and throws it into my dad's desk, and then it starts going off, and the teacher literally just grabs them and just starts kicking their butt, like literally kicking their butt. Like you did that now, you go to jail without a question. Or even like when he was in high school, he's like, everybody's truck was unlocked, all the keys were in the ignition, and all the gun racks had guns in them. Everybody went hunting during lunch and after school, like that was just normal. But you do that now, like I said, you're going to jail for that now, which is crazy to me. But
Definitely like 40 years ago, there was a lot less supervision on everything. And like there was just a
There's a
lot
lot less
less
cameras.
things. Yeah, a lot less cameras, a lot less like
more natural selection, survival of the fittest here.
a lot less stuff like restricting people from doing stuff. Like my family tells me about times when they're like just cruising in a car. There's like 12 people in this car that like shouldn't only fit 4, but like was okay. Seatbelts didn't really matter that much back then. You just go across country and someone hits on the brakes and everyone falls forward and you just get back up, like that kind of stuff. But
See, sorry, go ahead, Matt.
nowadays it's just nothing like that. Like if you're not wearing your seatbelt, you get pulled over. It's like, well, $500, $500, $500. Like everyone's getting ticketed for that.
I think that also depends on where you are, though.
Yeah.
If you're in a more developed place, then yes. But if you're out in rural country, then they don't care out there. They're less strict.
My parents were like full-grown adults before they got consistent at wearing seatbelts. Like that's just what it was. They just grew up not having them, and then just when they did start having them, they just didn't use them because they're not used to them.
Yeah.
I'm not real consistent with a seatbelt, not because I care that much. Like once it's on, I don't really notice it, but I'll just forget. Like I'll come in and out of the habit of wearing a seatbelt. Like if I just hop in my car, fire it up, and go, then I'm like, no, well, didn't think about it today. But then if Kara's like, hey, put your seatbelt on, okay.
I get sick of the stupid dinging in my truck for the buckle your seatbelt. No, leave me alone.
Yeah, my uncle, every car he owns, he goes into the wiring and just snips it. He's like, shut up.
What about you, Tanner? Where would you end up?
If we do in the last couple hundred years, like mid 1800s, Old West, peak cowboy time. If we go any further back, feudal Japan.
Why? Like
samurai.
It's just to be a samurai. Okay, I was like, what are the different?
Absolutely. I got a katana. I picked it up this weekend. I got a katana. So I'm
now
halfway
you're
there.
practicing.
I feel like a lot of Jedi culture reflects in Japanese culture.
That's why he wants it.
It's real similar.
Well, if you look at samurai culture, it's all about honor. That's what Japan is all about. It's all about honor.
No respect. I don't know. I just when you said Japan, I was like, why?
Honky white boy,
Well, as long as you don't say Japan in the 1940s, I think you're okay.
Oh boy.
Speaking of that,
let's stay in.
Off tangent. Did you know that scientifically there is a certain distance past a nuclear explosion to where a chicken will be perfectly cooked, a frozen pizza will be perfectly cooked. There's a distance where it's just perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you need to include nuclear bombs to be able to get any of that.
Well,
that's what a microwave is.
Are they edible though? I'm sure they're cooked well, but
well, think about your microwave.
Well, no, he's saying
your microwave uses radiation.
Yeah, but
it's a different kind of.
At that same radiation, you're probably going to still have some kind of debris.
Hey, I never said that you could eat it and not have side effects. I'm just saying it's perfectly cooked. That's all I was saying.
But if it's perfectly cooked, why wouldn't you eat it? I mean, besides the contamination and stuff. But
Hey man, just
So, have you thought about like the downsides of living in feudal Japan?
you don't got modern medicine.
No modern medicine. You're literally stuck in Japan. There's like you don't know the rest of the world exists. There's constant wars.
If you go back to your question though, it's when would we like to have been born? Then if I was born there during that time, I wouldn't know what life was like otherwise.
This is true.
So I would have already I would that would have been my life growing up, would have been all that stuff. I wouldn't have known of how today is.
Well, yeah.
So if we go from that point of view, I think it'd be fine. If you got lucky, of course.
Yeah, as long as you weren't the third son or a girl, I think you're okay.
Yeah. I'm firstborn son, so like if we take that same thing, I'm fine. I'm fine. Chilling.
It's true. Perfect world, you'd be fine.
There's
Yeah.
a fourth kid.
But you see, the first three are all girls.
This, there you go.
I've come to bring honor to my family's name.
Am I the only one? Like, I might sound crazy, but like, does the Davis family look like they could be like a very far Asian descent? Is that just me?
It's my grandma. My grandma's got squinty eyes.
Is she? Is there any kind of Asian descent? No.
Not that I'm aware of. We're mainly like Irish, Scottish, English, kind of that area.
So you're very white.
Very, yeah, Western European.
Okay.
I'm sure there's Japanese, Asian, Chinese, Asian, East Asian in there. My mom's grandma was from Mexico, so that's why Cat gets so dark in the summers, or used to. So we do got a little bit, but
All right. Back to your
I feel like,
cowboy times. Oh,
oh, I was just gonna say, as far as downsides go, like being born in the 1970s, the worst part would just be that you get old and you have to live through today still. You know, like you didn't go far back enough in time to where you're dead before all of everything that's going on happens. I'm not gonna get political, but basically 2016 onward,
not worth it.
ain't with it.
So that's why you
we
go
got
back
some,
to
we got some good things.
yeah. I mean, Killer Clowns, that didn't really help, but that kind of started everything.
That was 2016. If we start 2017, we got some pretty good things.
Yeah, everybody forgets about the killer clowns. I feel like that was just a thing, and then everyone was like, "No, they're gone now. They decided to leave. We're good."
Well, that was mostly a joke. Like 95% of that was like people just wanting to get viral. So
It was right around Halloween because I remember this because there was a kid that showed up dressed up as like a killer clown in a costume to school. I was like, dude, what are you doing? Like,
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like late summer into the school year is when it happened. Because I had a friend that like was terrified of clown, and we would do like we'd play night games, and if anyone said anything about a clown, he would just like die, like all over.
if you go far back enough, like Tanner was saying, like you go to like cowboy times, you'd probably have a higher chance of getting shot than you would dying of old age.
But is that a good thing? Is that necessarily
Mm.
better?
It's quicker.
It's quicker, yeah. They don't have to drag it out. Then you're either dying of a bullet or some disease. I mean, either dying
Dysentery on the Oregon Trail.
Yep.
What role would you play, Tanner, if you were to live in the Wild West? Would you be a cowboy?
Dude, cowboy. Yeah, well, absolutely.
But would you actually be a cowboy?
Yes, I plan on being a cowboy in my later years. Me and Logan, Davis Ranchers. We got a photo. Sid bought a bunch of frames from like the DI to put photos in, and there was one where it was two old guys on horses, and she was gonna take it out, and me and Logan convinced her not to. Like, no, you can't take that out. Like, this is dope. Like, you gotta leave this. And then we had it in our room before he left, and before I got married. Like, we had it still up on the wall, and he wrote on a sticky note "us" one day and stuck it underneath it. So we plan on being ranchers one day and cowboys.
See, same. Like honestly, me and Anna were talking about it when we were out in Canaryville because then we were talking about it and it was like when we are parents or like adults and like have kids and everything like that, we don't want our kids to be like, can I have another hour with my TV watch or iPhone or whatever it is then. Um, we want them to be like, can I go feed the horses? And us be like, no, you can't go feed the horses yet. They'll die. Can I go feed the horse? Or like, can I go play with the dogs? Or like, that's kind of what we're wanting from our kids. And it's kind of hard to do that in this day and age. It is and it isn't. It takes money. It is kind of what it is.
Whichever one of you guys ends up owning a ranch, I'll send my kids over in the summertime. They'll work for you guys, learn how to work.
Perfect. Free labor.
Yep,
Perfect.
better believe it.
Shovel all the horse manure for me.
Get them big muzzles.
I could be a cowboy because I'm related to Butch Cassidy.
So you would be the original Butch Cassidy. You'd be Butch Cassidy before Butch Cassidy was Butch Cassidy.
No, I'd be the actual Sundance Kid. I'd be right there next to him and go die in Bolivia. So
All right. So Darren, let's throw in some like things that might twist you up.
Yeah, let's hear it.
When were you saying you'd be born? 69?
69.
Ooh, might be a little late for this one. Okay, the Slavic Wars. You would be born and you'd be of age during those times. You'd be in the army. Is that okay with you?
In the army is a loose term. Does that mean I have the potential of getting drafted?
Yes, you're gonna be drafted.
Also, I know nothing about the Slavic Wars. Was that a real thing?
Yes, it was. So Vietnam was like about the time you're saying you wanted to be born.
Vietnam was more like this late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, exactly. And
So he wouldn't be drafted in the Slavic Wars.
Yeah.
those were like 80s.
Or Nam.
No, that's what I said. He would have avoided Vietnam because that's about when he was being born. But then about 10 to 20 years later was the Slavic Wars. So like Bosnia, when the Iron Wall fell, all that kind of fun stuff.
Plus,
Because
you had to watch out for the Russians.
Yeah.
I mean, we still do.
as nice as it would be, because I honestly agree. I think it would be awesome to have been born when my parents were born, because like you get to live like 30 years without technology, but then you're still young enough to like definitely learn how to use technology, and then you'll just die like as technology becomes advanced enough where you're just like not interested. A couple things I found: less food choices. You don't really have as much variety. Travel's a lot harder. So like you like to travel, you like to go places, you want to explore the world. A little harder. TV kind of sucks. Like not as fun. Things.
But you had good movies, though.
Yeah, way better movies.
You got Back to the Future, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Breakfast Club,
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Okay, fair. But like you don't get to kill as much time just on the regular. Like you can't just be like, I'm bored. Let's rewatch The Office because it's just there.
Again, that
For
goes
me,
back to Tanner's.
that's one of the perks. Like,
Yeah.
nobody's able to do that, like everybody, if you want to get together, like my parents growing up would have study groups, like study parties, like everybody comes over, you have dinner together, and then you're studying, which I wouldn't do, my dad didn't do, but he was there to flirt with my mom.
See, and back to Tanner's point earlier was you wouldn't know any different, so like you wouldn't know any time different, so you would just do what everybody else did. Like you'd be listening to MTV, like MTV was coming around there, so you were watching MTV a little bit. That was the big thing.
Yeah.
Radio was still big, so you're still listening to the radio a lot. I mean, there's stuff that gets filled. Like look in the 1800s, they just kicked around a tumbleweed instead of a soccer ball. Like that's all they knew.
They also did the stick thing with the wagon wheel.
Yeah.
They also did horseshoes.
And shrooms.
True. No, that was the 80s.
That was You're putting the age wrong.
More
spot.
60s.
That's 60s more LSD.
That's true.
So Darren, because Tanner says he wants to be a cowboy, I think we all know that Colby's just a cowboy, but in the city. What would your occupation be if you were just like in the 70s?
In the 70s,
Like, yeah, in your choice position.
I don't know, like because obviously graphic design isn't a thing.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Well, yes and no. It was with the government trying to bankrupt Russia.
yeah, well, yeah, it was just not in the same way that I'm looking to go into it. I feel like with my dad, he graduated high school having no idea what he wanted to do, and then becomes a chiropractor. So like he was able to still go out and go to 12 years of school after graduation to where he's then able to like afford that. Not really, like still student loans out out of his ears, but like that's affordable. I feel like I don't know, money wise, like everything, you can't afford to just work a job and pay for your schooling. You have to go into debt, and like buying a house, like everything is just way more expensive, and the inflation has been nuts. So I feel like even though I'm not sure what I would want to do back then, I feel like there'd be more options, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
More and less options because obviously there's more jobs today, but I don't know.
But you feel like you would be able to make more with the situation that you would have been in then.
Yeah. Also, if I was born back then, I could have just been a cowboy with my grandpa. Cowboy in the '80s. Got my little cassette player, my Walkman. I've still got one of those, by the way.
Do you use it?
No, not very often.
So here, like now that we've kind of gotten everyone's opinions on it, Cowboy didn't even have to ask. We already knew he's a cowboy, and just wishes he was born in the '60s, specifically the nines, '69s. Um, I just want to read like something that I saw when I was kind of looking into it, and this is just a random person. It's not some famous philosopher or anything like that. It's just a normal person's opinion on it. It says, my philosophy teacher in high school deeply regretted that she was born for far too late to be able to know her, to be able to have met her favorite philosopher, the great French thinker Albert Camus. And a friend of mine who fought with me in the Bosnian War is still feeling bad about the fact that he wasn't born 25 years earlier so that he could have fought in the Vietnam War. There really is no best time in history to be alive. That would suit everyone. For me, the time and place where I was born turned out to be perfect. My life would have been very different if I was born only 5 years earlier or later. Like I've thought about it, and like I think everyone's gonna say that the time that they hit adulthood sucked. Like no matter what's going on in the world, everyone got screwed over when they turned into an adult. And like for us, I was thinking about it like literally a couple years before I was even thinking about buying a house or anything like that. Prices, rocketed pretty high in the area that we live. From 10 years ago to now, house prices have like tripled. So like if we were born 10 years ago and we're living here 10 years ago, we'd be paying a third as much in housing than we are going to have to now, which is crazy. But I don't know, just that quote that I read made me really think that like we're talking about like hundreds of years that we could choose between, which I'm surprised no one said like the Renaissance or anything like that. I don't know.
I'd
That
get
seems like
scared,
pretty cool.
100%.
Huh?
I'd run my mouth. Come on.
Black Plague.
Yeah,
Oh,
You think
yeah,
COVID was bad, dude? The Black Plague was worse.
exactly.
It actually did its job.
Or the Spanish flu.
but yeah, just like reading that last part where it says if I was born only 5 years earlier or later, it would have changed his life. Like I don't know, that's crazy to me. And so like when I hear that or think about that, I always think like obviously it's a what is that called, a cliche, but like you're born when you are for a reason kind of thing. Like obviously it might suck at moments, it might not be the funnest, but there's definitely like a reason for you to be here. So just make sure that you're always that like living up to that expectation and that reason for being here is kind of how I see about it or think about it.
Yeah, if we pulled the when out of the question, will you guys choose to be born anywhere else at the same time in the world?
No,
Mm-mm.
No.
no way.
Would you, Darren?
I mean, really, the only other guess would be, or like the only other option on the table is Canada. I feel like there's a lot more opportunity and like it's a lot more common for Canadians to come into the U.S. like kind of seeking that American dream and whatever else just because I've seen so many examples of it in my family. But
Mm-hmm.
like it never goes the other direction. It's super rare that people are like, "I'm moving to Canada," even though like every election people joke about it. But yeah, I mean, America's got its flaws, believe you me. But I don't think I'd choose anywhere else.
I'd be here, and the only other thing that I would even consider is like somewhere in Europe, like just because I don't know, I feel like it could be cool. Don't really have a specific spot.
You want those 6 weeks of paid vacation every year?
Exactly. I get to work less, have more time off. I'd be happy with that. Well, any other thoughts that you guys have for the day? All right. Well, then I think that's it for this week. We'll see you guys next week. Make sure you like, comment, share, do whatever you can do or want to do to get this around, and we'll see you guys again next week. Peace.
There you go.
Oops.
All right.